Thanks, Eugenia. Thanks, everybody. Welcome to this scholarship information session. My name is Sarah Cian. I think I know some of you. It's nice to meet the rest of you who I haven't met before. It's really great to have you all here. This is timely because the application for the scholarship is going to close next week. So just to make this clear, this is the application for the current cycle that we're in right now. So this is anybody who took a class in the fall of 2024 or is going to take a class right now in the spring of 2025. That's what this scholarship is for. If you're not planning to start your schooling until the September, then you don't want to apply now. You want to wait until April when we open the scholarship for next year. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that this is much later than we've ever had the opportunity to keep it open before. It's a little unusual, but you can still apply for pretty much now. I think it's for the spring because most fall business has been settled. So if you want to take classes now, and then in April, so then it will close. It will be closed in February and March. And then in April, we'll open up a new application cycle, which will be for people who want to start taking classes in September. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. Everybody can see my slides?
Look good, yes.
Perfect, all right. So just a little overview of the scholarship. It's a program that's offered jointly by EEC and the Department of Higher Education, and it's to help educators to increase their qualifications through a college degree. So this is really a program if you're interested in going to college to get your associate's degree, your bachelor's degree, or your master's degree, or what some colleges call a college level certificate, which is a little bit shorter than an associate's degree. If you're looking for classes just to get your EEC certification, then this is not the program for you. You would want to be accessing our Career Pathways program, and I think I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. And also, I'm always available to answer questions about Career Pathways. But this, just to be clear, this is really a program for students that want to go back to school to get a degree. So the way it's not based on your financial status. It's not needs-based. So everybody can be eligible. It's not, you don't have to write an essay. It's not based on like winning a scholarship. It's open to everybody. So your award is based on a per credit rate, depending on the institution type that you go to, and we'll go over that in a minute. And so it provides funding for a maximum of 3 courses. So it's really part-time if you want to take, but you don't have to take 3 courses. You can take 1 course, 2 courses, or 3 courses. So it's really up to you how many courses you want to take while you're working. So these are the eligibility requirements for the scholarship. They're on our website, so I'm not going to read them to you. I know that they're in tiny print and you might not be able to read them, but we will send you this slide deck tomorrow. So if you can't read them now, you can read them tomorrow. I think some of the biggest things that you just need to consider when thinking about your eligibility is that you do need to live in Massachusetts for at least 1 year. And you do need to be a citizen, a permanent legal resident, or a non-citizen eligible under Title IV regulations. And that's because you have to be eligible to complete the FAFSA in order to be able to apply for the scholarship. So you have to complete the FAFSA, you have to apply to a program. And I think the biggest new exciting thing about the scholarship is there's no longer a work requirement. So anybody who's working at an EEC licensed or funded program is eligible. If you've been working for a week, a month, a year, you're eligible to apply for this. You also have a year to get a job. So if you are not yet working in the field, or if you want to hire somebody that's not yet working in the field, um, they can still apply. They would apply as what's called a prospective educator, and they would be able to start on their education right away. So I'm going to go over all of these things a little bit in more detail. So you do have to apply for a program in one of the majors that's listed here. So there's everything from child development to social work, special education, elementary education. This is hopefully to appeal to some of our out of school time professionals, which we hope are on this call, and our residential and placement providers, so that you don't have to specify early childhood. You have a variety of things that you could major in. And as I mentioned, the awards are per credit based on institution. So if you go to a community college, you would get 350 per credit that you wanted to take per semester. So if you were going to take all of your 9 credits, you'd get $3,150 that semester toward your work. So it really just depends on the type of program that you want to go to. These are the maximum awards. So I think in some cases, if you pick an expensive college or an expensive private college, it doesn't always cover the entire amount of the cost of tuition, in which case you'd be responsible for paying anything over that cost. So it's just something to think about. So the first thing you have to do is you have to complete a FAFSA. And right now is a tricky time because there's 2 FAFSA that are available because we're in between years. So you want to make sure that you complete the 2024-2025 FAFSA, which is for this current year. And again, we'll be sending out this deck so you have this information. If you're interested in applying for the scholarship before the deadline next week, I encourage you to complete the FAFSA tonight or tomorrow, because it takes a few days for your FAFSA data to process before you can fill out a scholarship application. So you really need to give yourself, 3 or 4 days, not including the weekend. So you would probably want to fill out your FAFSA right away to give it time to process so that you could still fill out the application by the 15th. And after you complete the FAFSA, once it's processed, you'll get an email that looks like this, and that alerts you that you can go into the MassAid portal and create your account. So that's this. And again, when I send this out, you'll get the login for the MassAid account. And so if you already have an account because you've used MassAid before, it's one account, you'd use your same username. If this is your first time, then you go where that red arrow says and you create an account in the MassAid system. It's pretty simple, and then you log in. Once you get into your MassAid account, this is what you'll see on your screen. And you'll see on the left where it says Grant Scholarship Online Applications. That's where you want to click. That's how you'll get to the ECE scholarship application. You can see on the bottom, it says Welcome, and you can scroll down and see information. On the right, it says My Mass Grant. This is really confusing. The Mass Grant is something different from the scholarship. It's not the same, and the deadline for the Mass Grant has passed. So you will get an email that tells you you are not eligible for the Mass Grant. You need to read it really carefully because it's not the same as a scholarship. So if you get an email that says you're not eligible for the Mass Grant, you can just ignore it. It has nothing to do with whether or not you're eligible for the scholarship. So then once you click on grants and scholarships and online applications, you'll see that you'll have 2 different choices, and you'll click to apply for the 2024-2025 Early Childhood Educator Scholarship. So now you're starting in on the application, and that's what I'm going to go over through this information session. It's pretty easy. There's 3 steps, 3 sections of the same application. So there's your general student information. When you go to this section, you'll see that there's already some information there about you that came from your FAFSA information. So your name will already be in there and certain things that you put in your FAFSA. It's really important that you use the same name on your FAFSA that you do when you complete the scholarship application. So if you sometimes use your first name and you sometimes use your middle name, or if you sometimes use your last name and sometimes use a partner's last name, you need to just be consistent because the system won't recognize you if you try to use a different name. I'm not going to go over the student information because it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just a couple of demographic questions, and it's pretty easy to figure out. I am going to go over the application information with you, and then I'm going to go over the employer information that you need to submit. So the application information looks like this. You do need to know where you are going to take your classes in order to apply. It's possible to change it if you change your mind at this point in the cycle of the year. My guess is you already know where you want to go. And so that's really important. Going down, so that's the first question, and there's a drop-down menu. Going down, it asks you if you're enrolled as, and the answer is an undergraduate or a graduate student. So if you're getting your associate's degree or your bachelor's degree, you would enroll as an undergraduate. If you're getting your master's degree, you'd enroll as a graduate student. And ask some of the questions, the same questions in a little bit of a different way. So then it asks you if you're a graduate student or not. And then it will show you a drop-down menu for what major you're going to choose. It asks you for your expected degree month and your expected degree year. So you want to count ahead to when you think that you'll graduate. It's okay if you don't know exactly. So take your best guess as to when you think you'll finish the program that you've enrolled in and put that in. But if it takes you longer or it takes you less time, it's okay. So you don't have to worry about knowing exactly when you're going to graduate. Again, you'll get a drop-down menu for your grade level, and you'll again select if it's your first year or whatnot. It will ask you one more time if you have a bachelor's degree. If you're a master's student, you do. So you would put yes. If you're an associate's or bachelor's student, you would put no. And it asks you what kind of degree you're pursuing. So if you're getting a certificate or associate's degree or bachelor's degree, you would select that. I lost my train of thought for a moment. You can apply for the scholarship for your first degree at each level. So if you don't have a degree in any type of degree, you can apply. You can start with your associate's degree or you can start with your bachelor's degree. If you have an associate's degree already, you cannot get another associate's degree. You need to work towards your bachelor's degree. If you have a bachelor's degree, you cannot get another bachelor's degree. You have to work towards your master's degree. So you can't get another degree level that you already have, no matter what country you got that degree. So if you got a degree in another country and it counts in the US as a bachelor's degree, you cannot get another bachelor's degree. You would have to start with your master's degree. And then the bottom of the page asks you for how many anticipated credits. So this is where if you're going to take one class, you indicate that you're going to get you want to get 3 credits. 2 classes is 6 credits, or 3 classes is 9 credits. So you put down how many you think you want to get. This is important to get as accurate as possible, because if you put down 3 credits and then you decide to take 6 credits, your award won't be enough to cover those 6 credits, and you'll have to reach out to update your credit amount. So if you decide to add a class, then you want to make sure you reach out to me and tell me that you're added a class and you need to increase your credits. If you apply, say, for 6 or 9 credits and you drop a class, you don't have to reach out. It's fine. It just works itself out. Remember, if you drop a class, make sure you do it through the appropriate channels, which would be the add drop period through your college. You don't want to drop a class by stopping to go to that class, because that will impact your academic progress and your ability to get financial aid. So just make sure that if you decide not to take a class that you've started, you talk to the professor and you talk to the departments at your college and you fill out the proper paperwork. So here's the part of the application that's different if you've ever looked at this before. It asks you if you are currently employed in the field or if you're going to be starting in the field as a new student. So if you are currently employed at a licensed or authorized program, you indicate that on the top choice, that one that's indicated in blue in my slide, and you will be asked for verification of your employment at the place that you work. If you are a prospective student or a prospective employee, you haven't started working yet, you haven't started your program yet, you will click in the second box. And it's just important to read this. And it says that if you agree to that second option, that if you get the EEC scholarship, you must demonstrate that you're seeking employment with an early education and care provider in the Commonwealth. So if you are a prospective student or you're hiring a prospective student, the next time that you apply, you will not be able to be a prospective student again. You will have to, by 1 year from now, you will have to show that you are employed at a program. So it gives you quite a bit of grace time to start. If you are somebody who's even only been working a week or 2 weeks, you would select that first option because you are currently employed. Here's where you put in the information about your employer. If you are someone who's currently employed, if you selected that you're prospective, you won't, I believe you won't be asked to fill out these fields. I think it just bypasses it. But it asks for your employer's name, your employer's address, city, state, and it asks for your program number. And you can see there's a little picture of the top of an EEC license over here. Oops, sorry. This is where you want to get your program number from. That's the number that you want to put into the application. You should put your start date, no matter when it is. And then the last question asks you for your PQR number. So everybody who's currently working in the field has a PQR number. You should be in the PQ registry. And so you can go there and you can find your number. You might have printed out a certificate for your director that has your number on it. If you are also certified by EEC, it's the same number. And you can use the number that's on your own personal EEC certification. And you must be active. So most of you probably know that every year you have to go in and like update your PQ. And so if for some reason yours is expired, you'll get an email from me asking you to go in and update your PQ registry and send me a copy. So you can do that before. It's really helpful. And then it keeps going. It asks for the employer zip, phone number, how many hours you work per week, hours the program operates, your supervisor, his name, phone number, email address, and title. If you are a family child care provider, or if you are the owner of your center-based program and you don't have a supervisor, you can be your own supervisor. So you don't need to ask your licensor or somebody from your family child care system. If you are family child care educator and you own your own small business, you can say that you are your own supervisor. And the same if you are the owner of a center-based childcare program. It used to be that you had to work in at least 20 hours a week. That is no longer a requirement. Since you don't have to be working at all to be eligible, it also allows you to be working more part-time. So if you have part-time employees that haven't been eligible before because they've worked under 20 hours, a week, they are now eligible and they can now apply. So this is your previous employer information. We still ask you to do this even though there is no longer the 6-month work requirement, because sometimes we need this to verify your eligibility for other reasons. So if you've been working in your program for 25 years and you can't remember where you worked before that, don't worry about it. But if you are very new to your program and you worked somewhere else last summer, it's helpful for you to add that. It's not required, so you don't have to complete it, but it is helpful if you know it to fill out information about your previous employer. And then the almost last thing you do is you have to agree to the service commitment by checking that little box. You used to have to click on something and read a whole agreement. We've changed it, so it says there just that there's an expectations that students will continue to be employed in the early childhood education field as an educator or provider for 6 months per semester of the scholarship receipt. So there is an expectation that if you get a year's worth of scholarship funds, you work for 1 more year in the field. And you can read this more carefully to see obviously what you're agreeing to before you click the box and hit save. You're really close, you're almost done. It's a pretty simple application. The last thing that you have to do is you have to upload your proof of employment form if you are somebody who is currently working. Because if you are currently working, we want to make sure that you're working in an eligible center or home-based care. If you've indicated that you're a prospective employee, you don't have to do this first year, but you have to do it in the future when we go to verify that you have actually been seeking employment in the field. So you can see the arrow points there to your proof of employment form. And then what's on the proof of employment form is your supervisor's signature. You still have to bring it to your supervisor signs it, and then you go back into your application again. You click on My ECE on the left, and then you upload your proof of employment where it's indicated with the red arrow. So you do have to be able to print and then scan in your proof of employment. We don't accept them through the mail. We don't accept them via email. They have to be connected to your application. You can get really good scanner apps on your phone now. So if you don't have access to a scanner, you can download an app. You can take a picture if it's a really good picture. If every part of your proof of employment letter is clear and legible, we will accept a photograph. But if there's glare or something can't be seen, we won't accept it. So it's easier just to scan it from the beginning, I think. Okay, so what happens next? That's it, you've applied. Please monitor your email inbox because all information and notifications will be sent via email. So please read your email. Read it carefully because you will get notifications about Mass Grant. You will get notifications about other things. So please make sure that what you're reading is about the ECE scholarship. Please allow time for if your application goes through a double review, one at the Department of Higher Ed and one at EEC. So please allow, it's usually about 2 to 3 weeks by the time your application flows through the whole cycle. If you receive an email that you are ineligible for any reason, you will have 20 days to correct that reason for ineligibility. And when you are eligible, your award will remain as pending. So it doesn't mean you didn't get it. It just means the school has to go through the process of getting the money. I want to show you a couple of other things before I take down my screen and we can answer questions. But this is an example of what you might get from Mass Grant. See where it says it says that your FAFSA was received past the deadline, so you're not eligible for the um for the for the mass grant. You can ignore this because we're not talking about the mass grant. And at this point in the year, you will all be ineligible for the mass grant because you have all missed the deadline for it. So um, just really pay attention to what it says up there in the corner. Um, I can't tell you how many emails I get from students who are panicked that they didn't get the scholarship. And when I ask them to send me a screenshot, they're not, they're not, it's not about the scholarship, it's about the mass grant. And I totally understand because there are so many emails and it's confusing and I get it. Um, but just be careful to read really carefully because you might be able to answer your own question. If you do have a question for me, I ask that you send me a screenshot because it's really, I don't have access to the system, so I can't go in and see what you're looking at, but I can answer your question if you send me a screenshot of what you have a question about. I can usually help you find the answer. Um, this is what I wanted to show you. See how it says where that red arrow is? It says pending DEC approval. Once DHE approves your scholarship, you'll see this. And this just means that it has to go through, it has to go through my approval. So give it a few more days. And then what you'll see next to application status is it will say eligible. So it's just part of the process of going through the review. And then I just included some resources which you can look at more carefully when we share this slide deck. So now, there we go. That is really the end of my presentation. I'm happy to take questions. Eugenie has been monitoring the chat. And you can also come live. Eugenie will call me.
And thank you all again for being here. Like Sarah and I's goal is to spend all of the money that we have for this scholarship, so that you and people that you know who are helping to improve children's lives can go and back to school and get some help paying for it. So we're really, really excited you're here. We have one question in the chat right now that I'll read aloud, but for those of you who just listened to Sarah's beautiful presentation, if you have a question, you can raise your hand and we're happy to call on you, or you can drop it in the chat and I'll read it out loud, and then Sarah will help answer the questions. But yes, anyone with questions, please feel free to ask them. So the first question we do have is from Annie. We have it. Is there a priority for those who are currently working in the field?
Not at this time. It is a workforce development initiative. So in addition to helping to upskill people who are currently working in the field, it's also a tool for bringing new people into the field and developing our workforce. We don't foresee that we will need to go to our priority. It would only be in the case of not having enough money. And the legislature has required that if we do have to go to a priority, the priority goes to members of a socially or economically disadvantaged community. And there's a few other specifics in there that we are required to prioritize if we get to that point. If we get to the end of the money, I don't foresee that happening. But we have very strict guidance from the legislature as to how we are to prioritize funds should that happen.
Yes, and thank you, Amy, for the question. We really hope that folks who are working at programs can use this as a recruitment tool. So if you're currently trying to hire folks, let them know that if they come and work with you, they can apply for the scholarship. And if they miss this boat, as Sarah says, we'll have another application round in April. So we are very, very excited to be able to hopefully help you all recruit talented people who want to come and work with you and also go back to school. We have a question here too, I think, in concerns of the new eligibility for folks who are coming into the field. We have a question here that says, I do know, I think they're asking if you have to have a program in mind already, and can they apply for the program? Or if they're not sure, but they want to work in early education, can they apply to the grant? And please let us know if we got that question wrong, because I was trying to interpret a little bit.
Yeah, so I see the question. So I don't know if it refers to like the program that you want to work in or the program that you want to study in. If you're not sure what program
Uh,
of study you want, if you go to the website, you'll see a list of all of the schools that accept the scholarship. And you would want to make sure that you select one of those schools that does accept the scholarship. It's really a personal preference in terms of what you're looking for in your college program, and we don't really have provide guidance or information about that. There's a lot of schools listed there. I suggest if you're already working, maybe talking to your director or other teachers that you work with that have gone to a program. Certainly do some research on the website, looking at the schools that offer a program and see which one might be a good fit for you. I see you're asking for school recommendations. So um, those are my suggestions, and maybe at the end, if anybody is aware of a program, or if somebody is already knows of a program that they really like, you could put it in the chat to help Tanika Renee think about what program she might want to look into. I did get one private message, Eugenia, asking if you have to have been accepted to the college. And other people might have this question, so thank you. You do not have to have been accepted to the college. You can apply to the scholarship first. You have to know where you think you're going to be accepted because you can't skip that field. You have to select a college. If you don't end up going to that college, you have to let us know because that's where the money's going to the college won't know to request money if you're not on the list at the right college. So you don't have to be accepted to the college, but you have to kind of have a thought about where you might go. Have to be sure to let us know if you change your college that you've put into the application. Otherwise, the scholarship won't work for you.
Thank you, Sarah. So we'll call on Gabriela next, and then after that, I'll go back to some of the questions we're getting in the chat, and thank you for the questions so far. Gabriela, go ahead.
I have a question that something that happens to me.
Can you speak up a little bit? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
My assistant, I live in the border to Massachusetts and Rhode Island. My assistant lives in Rhode Island, but works in Massachusetts. So the situation is that she may not be eligible to the grant in Massachusetts because she lives in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
But we called to Rhode Island state, and they said that they cannot give her any help because she works in Massachusetts. But we are in the border, so it is really hard.
Yeah, that is a very, very tough situation. I feel for you. Unfortunately, there is a residency required because it's Massachusetts state dollars. So that is not something that there's any flexibility about. But I hear your situation. It does sound really tough.
Yeah, so she cannot get funds from Rhode Island because she works in Massachusetts, and she cannot get funds from Massachusetts because she lives in Rhode Island.
Yeah, that's a very unfortunate situation.
Yeah, I think that's unfair to her.
I understand.
So yeah, I just want to comment that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. These scholarships, they're never perfect, but we try to do the best we can to support folks, and we're sorry that you're kind of in this gap
Yeah.
there. Yeah. I saw a hand that disappeared, but I'm gonna read some questions from the chat. I have one question that looks like it's saying, I'm looking to find the scholarship that suits me best. If that person, it just says iPhone, could give us some more details, that would be very helpful because I'm not quite sure what you're looking for here. But if you can share more details, we'd be happy to ask and then answer. And then the next question I see is if you're going to graduate this year from high school, how would that work if you're applying for the scholarship?
That's a great question and a great opportunity for you. If you're currently in high school, you want to apply to the next cycle that opens in April because you wouldn't be starting school until September at the earliest. So the scholarship for students starting in September will open in April. And I encourage you to apply in April. You should know, like I said, it's a part-time scholarship, so it would only cover if you wanted to take up to 9 credits. If you already know where you're going to be working, that's great. If you don't yet know where you're going to work, you would apply as a prospective student or a prospective employee, and then you would have 1 year to start working in early education because it's an annual scholarship application. So you have to apply every year for the year that's coming. So you get 1 year of the scholarship at a time. So if you apply in April, you'll get the scholarship for 1 year, and then the next April, if you're not finished with school, you'll apply again. So if you apply in April and you indicate that you're a prospective student, you'll have the whole year until next April when it's time to apply again to find a job. And then the second time that you apply, you'll put that you're working in the field and you'll give us the information about where you're working. So this change that we've made is a really great opportunity for students who are in high school and graduating because you don't have to be working yet to apply for the scholarship. So Gabby, tell your friends if you're in a early childhood program or not, tell your friends that this is a great opportunity for them if they want to go into the field. I have 2 kids in college, but I know how much it costs. So this is a really great opportunity if you can put the pieces together and make it work.
Yeah, and we're so excited that you're thinking about a career in early education too. So thank you for your question and thank you for your interest in an amazing field. There's probably a lot of educators on here who can tell you how fulfilling this work is. So we have a lot of people with their hands raised. So I'm gonna answer one question in the chat and then we're gonna go to Yazel and we'll go from there. But the question I have is the clarification from earlier. So this is a family child care educator who wants to learn more about working with children, and they're looking to see what scholarship they can best apply to. So Sarah, maybe, and it's in Spanish, so if there's any details on Spanish speaking components of this that could be helpful, maybe we can share that.
So a scholarship is tricky for those who don't speak English because of the matriculation requirement. You have to be in a degree program. And at some point in that degree program, you will probably have to pass an English class to graduate and get your degree. But there are lots of opportunities at the community colleges to start taking your classes first. You would still apply for the scholarship if you knew you wanted to get an associate's degree at a community college. And those are the places that really offer classes first in your language, your native language, so you could start with those classes. So if you go to our website for career pathways, Eugenia, if you can drop that link in. If you scroll to the bottom of the website, there's a big chart that lists all the community colleges and the contact person for the community college and the language that's offered at that college. So you would want to go to the bottom and look for the colleges that offer classes in Spanish. And then you would want to reach out to the contact person and say that you're interested in taking classes. And that person would help you determine whether or not you would be eligible for career pathways or for the scholarship. That's really what they do at the colleges. So that's my suggestion for getting started if you're not yet comfortable taking a class in English.
Thank you, Sarah. So we'll go to Yazal and then Katrina and then senior Marie Julie next. So Yazal, go ahead.
Sí, ya puedo empezar. Gracias, buenas noches. Mi pregunta es, yo quiero estudiar educación especial. Ya trabajo en educación de niños de todo. Entonces, yo quiero saber, justo lo del idioma. Yo estoy estudiando inglés y entiendo un poquito, pero si es importante para iniciarlo lo del idioma y también que yo inicialmente hoy fui a Northeast College, entonces a ver si esa ofrecería educación especial, que es básicamente lo que me interesa. Gracias.
Thank you. So I'm just going to do a quick recap here to make sure I understand. So Yuzel, let us know if I understood anything, but hearing that you are looking to study special education, which is very exciting, and that you went to, I forget the name of the college today, but to see what offerings, what courses were there in your language, and kind of looking for some assistance in finding special education courses in Spanish that you could access and seeing if you could use the scholarship for this. Okay, good. I'm glad that I understood properly. So Sarah, that is what we are looking for. Yes.
Can you just give me the specific question? Like a recap of the question.
Looking to get a degree in special education in Spanish and trying to start that process. Had visited a college to see what was available in Spanish, and they had some things, but not everything.
Okay.
But looking for support and being able to go back to school for that. Yes.
Sorry, I got sidetracked in the chat for a minute, so I appreciate the recap.
It's
very
tricky
lots
when
of
you both. Yeah.
lots of multitasking going on here. So it's really the same answer that I would have before, would be to start in taking classes in Spanish at a community college, because then you would get there isn't a college that I know of in Massachusetts where you can get all the way through a degree without learning English. So it's a matter of starting in Spanish and learning English as you go, and then transitioning to taking classes in English, because you'll need to pass an English class to graduate. So again, I think the community colleges are the best place to start, because they offer classes in Spanish, they offer support to learn English, and then they help students transition from taking classes in Spanish to taking classes in English. So again, I would look on our career pathways page and scroll down to the bottom and see which of our community colleges offer classes in Spanish. I can tell you, if you're out west, Springfield Community College and Holyoke Community College offer classes in Spanish. In the central part of the state, Mount Wachusett offers classes in Spanish. And then North Shore Community College, Northern Essex Community College, and Middlesex Community College offer classes in Spanish. And so those are really the best places to start off in Spanish and then transition to English. I hope I answered your question, Yusel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Katrina?
Hi.
Katarina, sorry.
Yeah, you got it right. I just had like a clarifying question. In May I graduated from my bachelor's in early childhood education and special education. And I was looking to go for my master's. I work in a preschool in a daycare right now, but in the next few years I'm looking to like branch into like the kindergarten to like second grade age range. I was wondering if like I could still do this scholarship even though I want to like leave like that like daycare childcare setting and like if I wanted to teach in like the pre-K to second grade range, like I wanted to know if I could still do the scholarship and like, branch
Yeah.
out to that.
So that's a great question, and congratulations on graduating with a bachelor's degree. That's awesome. So the current requirement for the scholarship is that when you apply for the scholarship, you are currently working at an early education center that's part of the EEC system. Or like I said, you're a prospective student, but you plan to move into that. And then there is the commitment that you continue to work in the field for 6 months per semester after your scholarship. What happens after that is really your decision about how you move forward with your future. So the part that we kind of monitor is where you're working when you apply. As you can see, there's not really a standardized procedure for asking for you for the money back if you don't stay in the field, but that is the commitment that you are making by agreeing to the scholarship. You're making a commitment to stay in our workforce for 6 months per semester. And then after that, it's really your decision about your profession.
Yeah, I just wanted to double check to make sure because I've really like enjoyed like working in the preschool setting and like I really enjoyed it. But obviously like there's like different like realms of preschool, like in public schools and like other ways to like do different like teach preschool. So I didn't know like if it was like, if I were to go from preschool to kindergarten or something like that, if like that would like affect anything. But I do plan to like be in like my preschool setting and like doing my degree, and then probably staying in the preschool realm for a little while after my degree before. But it was just something in case like I did want to branch out or anything if
Yeah,
it was possible.
it's a great question, and we think that our public school and older grades need educators who have worked with young children and been through higher education. So we think that anybody who has worked in early ed and done a degree and then moves on to something else has a lot of skills and talent to take with them to what they do next. And so we know that there's a solid foundation if you've worked with our population and gone to school for it. And we're happy to see that be carried around to other jobs that impact children and families.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Also, I know you said so in April this opens again in case we wanted to do like for schooling in September.
Yep.
We submit our application like for this like application deadline. When would the classes typically start? You would like around.
So currently, this is for this semester, and most classes start like this month,
Yeah.
like in January. There's some of the community colleges have classes that start like in March. But this would really be like if you knew you wanted to go to school, like starting now. It's very, very late. And it's just kind of a strange situation. So my suggestion is if you're not already in school or you don't already know where you're going right now and ready to take classes like in a few weeks, to start for September and give yourself, some time to pick the school that you want to go to or the program that you want to go to and apply for the scholarship when it opens in April. I'll be doing more information sessions then, but it's the same information. The application won't change very significantly.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for your help. I appreciate it.
Sure. Good luck.
Thank you. So we'll go to Marie Julie, and then there's some questions in the chat that I'll jump to after Marie Julie. So you can go ahead.
Hey, I'm Sister Mary Julie, and I'm here on behalf of two of my assistants. One of them will be another sister who's coming from Mexico. So it's about the paper. You talked about it a little bit fast earlier. She's working on or she applied to have the green card a little bit more than 2 years ago. Since it was during COVID, it was closed for 6 months, and after the envelope was closed for 6 months, so it's a big delay in that. But she has I don't know if you know the paper, but the I-129 religious worker. So she's allowed to work and be in the United States. Would she be eligible for this grant?
So that's really an issue with the FAFSA and whether or not she is in an eligible category to complete the FAFSA. I am not an expert on the FAFSA and don't want to answer questions that I might answer incorrectly. So I have a suggestion, Eugenia, this is a great time to drop the Mass EdCo link. We have we work with a partner called Mass EdCo. They are independent of EEC, they are a nonprofit, and they support adults in get access to higher education. And they have really phenomenal counselors that you can have a virtual meeting with. And you can ask all of these FAFSA questions because they are experts in the FAFSA and they really understand who can complete the FAFSA, what kind of documentation you need. I actually met with them myself when I was filling out my own children's FAFSA, so I can recommend them from personal experience. So it's the Boston location. Mass EdCo has locations all over the state, and I'm sure they're great. The people that we know are out of the Boston location. And they have virtual meetings in multiple languages. You do not have to live in Boston. Anybody across the state can schedule a virtual meeting with somebody in Boston. Sister, that would be a great resource for you or your colleague to go to make an appointment and ask these questions about the documentation that's required for the FAFSA.
Okay,
And also,
it's Massachusetts Education and Career Opportunity.
I think so. I know them by Mass EdCo.
Yes, me too. I never can remember. Yeah, I think so. They the link I dropped in the chat will take you directly there.
Okay, great.
And I'll say too, they're very familiar with our scholarship as well. So
Yeah.
The good news is they meet with Sarah frequently, and they've helped a ton of people both apply for the FAFSA and apply for the scholarship. So they're a great place to get some help if you need some one-on-one support with the FAFSA or with applying for this application as well.
They're a great resource for everyone on this call if you really want to work with someone individually on your FAFSA, which is probably the hardest part of this application. And I am not qualified to help you with the FAFSA, but Mass EdCo is.
Okay, great. Thank you. And just out of the blue like this, really quick, associate degree is how many session?
Associate's degree is 60 credits.
60 credits.
And usually students who do it full-time can do it in 2 years. So if you're doing it part-time, it's probably more like 3 years and maybe some summers.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Because you say that you have to commit to be here 6 months per credit?
Per semester.
Per semester.
Yeah, not per credit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question. So the next one that I'm going to read is from the chat. And I may drop it in the chat because I got it as a direct message. So Sarah, in case it's helpful for you to read along. We got a question from someone who works as a teacher at Hancock Elementary School in Brockton on an emergency license and also works as a supervisor at the extended day program. They are enrolled at Bridgewater State and they'd like to obtain a master's degree on special ed. Would they be able to apply for this scholarship?
That's a good question. So public school preschools are not considered eligible places of employment because they're actually considered a different workforce than ours. So we have our EEC workforce that works at our EEC supported license programs, and then there's the like the DESE workforce who work in public schools. So working at the Hancock Elementary School alone would mean that you're not eligible to apply. If your extended day program is considered an out of school time program that's licensed by EEC, then you would be able to apply. Or if you wanted to apply, if you wanted to move into working in an EEC license or funded program, like if you wanted to leave what you were doing, you could apply as a prospective student, and then within a year, you could find a job in an EEC licensed program.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you whether or not your extended day program is an EEC program. You might know. If you have questions, you can email me and I'm happy to look up your program. I'll drop my email in the chat. And you should all have it, I think, but just in case.
Yeah, and I'll say too, we get this question a lot about folks who are working with children in the public school system, which is wonderful as well. As Sarah mentioned earlier, this is a workforce development program for early education. So it applies to folks who are working in or would like to work in any EEC licensed program. So that's any childcare programs, family childcare programs, out of school time programs, or residential programs that are licensed by EEC. And if you're wondering whether your program is, you could probably ask whoever you work for if you're not sure, because if they've gone through the licensing process, I guarantee they know if they're licensed with us or someone else, because they have to make sure they have all that paperwork in order. Sarah dropped her email in the chat as she said, but I also shared, it was in the email with the invitation to this session tonight. There's 2 other scholarship grant programs in the K-12 space. So you always have options of some of these other opportunities as well. There's a lot of scholarships out of there. This is just one that we hope can help build up new and prospective and existing early education and residential care staff. So yeah, Sarah, I don't know if I went too off script with that, but hopefully
No, that's
that's
perfect.
helpful. Yeah.
I just want to note that it is 8 o'clock. So I'm happy to stay on and answer questions if people have more questions. I do want to respect everybody's time. So if you need to jump off, of course, I want to respect the time of our interpreters who are amazing. So I want to just give a great shout out to the folks at Fox Translation Services. We appreciate your awesome support for our Spanish and Portuguese speakers tonight. And I want to let you jump off and go back to your evening and respect your time. So thank you very much. We'll see you next time we do an info session in April. But like I said, I'm happy to stay on if people have additional questions. I don't know if you're still here, Gabby. You had a question about waiting until April to apply to college. I don't know this as somebody working at EEC, so I'm going to put on my mama hat now and say that you want to, if you're graduating from high school in May and you want to go to college in September, if that's a choice you want to make, start looking at colleges now and find out when their application deadlines are. They have all kinds of different application deadlines for students starting in programs. In September, the community colleges have rolling application deadlines, so it's really flexible when you apply, but some other four-year institutions have more strict types of application deadlines. So I encourage you just to start poking around, maybe talk to your guidance counselor or your teacher, and just start thinking about where you might want to go and make sure you are not going to miss the deadline.
Yes.
Gracias.
De nada, gracias.
Awilda, did you have a question?
I do. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you all.
Okay, thank you. I have a question. I already applied and I got an email stating my fall and spring amount. And they even sent me the name with the institution that I applied to. And I log into my Mass Aid account. I don't know if I have to do something else after I receive this with, do I have to log into my Mass Aid account and do something, or I just communicate directly with the college and proceed with the steps that I have to do? This is the first time I'm doing it, so I I don't
Yeah.
know what I'm doing.
No, that's a great question. So once you've completed your application and you've gotten an email that you are eligible, it becomes the school's responsibility to get their money. So someone in the Office of Financial Aid has a job to do, and that is basically to do what's called certify you and say, yes, Wilda G is a student at this college. Yes, she's going to her classes. Yes, this is her major. Then the money goes directly from the state to the college. So if there seems to be an issue with that, like you have an outstanding bill, or you need to speak to the people in the financial aid office at the college and just tell them that you're eligible for the scholarship and that they need to do their part to get the money.
Okay.
My suggestion is not to talk to whoever's at the front desk, because they don't always know, but to ask to talk to somebody who's in charge of the mass aid financial
Okay.
assistance, because there is somebody in that office whose job it is. Every single scholarship from the state of Massachusetts works in the same way, and there's probably 100 of them, not just the ECE scholarship, and they all work the same. And there's somebody whose job it is to get the college that money from the state. That person will know how to get their money, and that's on them. But if there seems to be a problem, you want to make sure you are speaking to the right person.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because when I did the application, I did selected a few different colleges, but one in particularly, it's the one who replied, and the email that I got from the early childhood education, it has one of the college's names, so I don't know what happened with the other one. And my other question is, if I started in one college, but then I decided I can't go to that one, can I switch to the other option that I first?
You can, as long as it's the start of a new semester. So the
Okay.
money won't switch mid-semester. So my suggestion is that you complete any semester that you start, because otherwise, if you drop out before the end of the semester, you might get billed for those. Like if you don't finish the classes, that would be up to the college.
Okay.
Like if you drop them. So I would definitely go to your financial aid office and ask these questions. Can I ask you what college you're going to?
So I applied for Bristol and
Mhm.
Fall River, and I did also Quinsigamond Community College, and I
And
think I also picked other ones in Mass is
but
where
you
there
can
was Mass.
only pick one in the scholarship application. Which one did you?
When I did the thing, it allowed me to pick. I don't know. I just know I picked like three of them.
That was
So
probably the FAFSA.
no,
The
I did the
FAFSA.
FAMSA too, but then I received letters from both, so that's why I wasn't sure what's happening. So I was like, I don't know.
So where did you decide to go?
Well, I guess I'm going with Quinsigamond because that's the email that I just recently got from Mass Aid. It says their name and it says fall and the amount approved, I guess, and then spring. So I guess that's where I'm going
If you
to.
haven't started yet and you don't want to go to Quinsigamond, you can change.
Okay. And since I got this one says it's fall and spring, that means in April I have to apply it again for the summer
For
semester
next fall.
for the
Yep.
fall. Okay. Okay. I just
If you're still confused, send me an email and send me a screenshot. And I can try to help you understand.
yeah, I just don't know if let's say I go this week to Quinsigamond to see what's the process. Do I have to show them something from my Mass Aid account or
You shouldn't have to. If you decide, you should just be able to enroll in classes,
okay.
and they should be able to figure it out. But if you have questions and you want to confirm, then go to the financial aid office at Quinsigamond and talk to them, and they should be really able to help you.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. Good luck.
Thanks.
And while we were talking with Awilda, thank you for the question, and we're so excited that you're going to school. We got a clarification from our friend who was teaching an extended day program and in the public schools, that the extended day program has an EEC license. So that is very exciting. And they have a PQR number. So then you are good to go, and we're excited that you're applying, and we're excited that you're in school. We hope that you can take advantage of this scholarship on your journey. Yeah.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all for your participation. It was really great. And let me know, or Eugenia know, if you have any questions, and we'll support you as best we can.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time. It was really interesting. And
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Have
We're
a good night,
excited
everyone.
that you're helping your colleagues. So we're so happy when people spread the word. We want all the money to be in the hands of students. So
Yeah.
we're very excited.
Great. Thank you.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.